Huh? TJ's gone.
Thank you, welcome. Also, Yara Gouveia and Fred Gouveia.
Is she still here? I think my mom left.
Oh, she left.
Is Yara still here? I think she's gone. She left, right?
Never mind that.
Okay. We want to just emphasize what Kellen announced here. We want to honor everybody's questions and comments. So please, if you haven't made it online, if you're watching online, we will get to your questions either later today or tomorrow at the latest by answering on the chat of the comment sections themselves. For the physical questions that were written here, we have to think how we're going to answer them, but we just won't have the time to do it now, unfortunately, because we're running out of time. And this experiential panel is probably the best part of today, so let's get to it.
And I'd like to invite Suzana to moderate.
Come on, guys.
Thank you.
So this is the last part and the best part usually of our event. The idea is after we have had all the lectures and the concepts, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the challenges and experiences in the area of sexuality. I'm assuming I'm supposed to be speaking English, but now, yes? Okay. And just to let you know what we decided while you were translating is that for all the questions that we have here, Andre, Marlon, and I will actually answer them. We're going to record the answers, and we are going to do that tomorrow morning. We're going to spend some time together. We're going to film our conversation, and we're going to publish it. So they will be answered. Now, we're going to get started, and the idea is that each one of you, I'm going to start with Alexandra because she actually did that with us in Florida, so she's familiar with the structure of the panel and how it works. Got about 10 minutes, give it a take, and she's going to share a little bit of her experience first, and then we'll pass on to the other ones, okay?
Hi. Hello, everyone. Is it good? Where the mic is? Okay, well, my name is Alexandra Azevedo. I'm Julian's mother, and Julian is a trans man. So this has been a new experience in my life, as you can understand. When about 4 years ago, Julian and Liz, his wife, my daughter-in-law, came home. They were dating at the time, and to reveal that Julian always felt that he was a man, and he was going to start a transition process. I had some experience already with the LGBT population through my work as a therapist, and I was very welcoming to, I think they can endorse this statement. I was very welcoming to this revelation and supportive of whatever was going to come to us. And then everything went through smoothly in the sense of practicalities. But I had to deal with my emotions because intellectually I was ready, prepared, full of knowledge, but my heart was scared and full of new emotions that I didn't know before. So things like what's going to happen now to my son, or when I would go to bed and I would think, is everything okay? Oh my God, now he looks like a man. but not fully, so people will notice. So I was all insecure about this. Safety was always in my mind, which is something I hear very often from parents when kids come out as homosexuals or transgender people. So I went through this, I don't even know, we never even talked about it that much. I know. And at the same time, I was feeling a great loss. I was like, oh my God, where is my daughter? Now I don't have a daughter anymore. So I was going through all these emotions that, what is it, what's happening? So what is my life like now? And at the same time, I was coming out as a mother of a transgender man to my friends, my family, and a lot of my neighbors, everybody. And I was feeling the effects of it. Being rejected sometimes, being welcomed and embraced for some friends, and feeling invisible often in many situations. So as we went through and I was processing this loss that I was feeling, one day when I was in class, because I went to school, I was like, no, I need more knowledge. So I went to school, got more information, and in one class, a trans woman was teaching, and she talked about this feeling of loss. And she said, the loss is of the perception parents had or people had of that person. It's not a true loss. It's the loss of that illusion, that thing that we thought that we saw. And that settled all my feelings. Because I got it. I was like, yes, it's the same person. What's changed is how I see my son now. The love is still the same. I never doubted that, but that was in my rationale, intellectually, my cognition needed that explanation. So that's one side, the emotional side, one aspect of it. The other one is that I started to answer emails from someone who speaks publicly and gets emails with questions. So I started to answer the emails about sexuality. And with that, I got involved with a group of volunteers called Amor Fraterno. And from that, my group, my support group was born. So now I have a support group for the LGBT community, as Andre mentioned before. And this work is rewarding in so many ways that I cannot even explain, because with everything that was said here today and ending with Marlon, this is about me now. It's no longer about my son. He's fine. We're fine. He is dealing with his own journey in life, and I'm dealing with mine. And mine is being the mother of a trans man, and having all the family that I have. I have another son and a husband and everything, getting my professional life, everything. But now it seems that everything surrounds sexuality and involved. So this is my journey. That is something for me to learn about myself. And I feel like I'm doing my work and growing and trying to cooperate and give back as much as I can. But since I'm not evolved enough, this clearly is about me. So I'm going to pass now to...
Hi. Being born a girl wasn't always the most happiest thing I could say. I've had many struggles. I mean, I guess the question goes, to all of the girls in the room, have you guys ever played house? Like, you've always played with Barbies and you've always imagined yourself like in being that character. Well, I always thought I was Ken. I wasn't Barbie. No way. I wasn't Minnie, I was Mickey, etc., etc., etc. There came a point in time when I said, you know what? Forget it. I'm just going to live this way. Let's see what happens. After high school, I actually met my very first trans man. You couldn't even tell that he was a trans man at all. Looked exactly like me, the same body figure, whatever. And then when he spoke, I was like, what is happening? So then he told me about testosterone, and he told me about how he wanted to transition and how his parents weren't accepting. And then that brought a little light bulb to my head, and I said, wow, I'm kind of on the same boat. So then I said, okay, let's continue on. College, same thing. I met my first MTF. I said, what are you doing? Oh, I'm taking testosterone blockers. My family supports me. I'm about to have surgery in order for my breast to be enlarged. And I'm like, that is really cool. And I'm proud to support you. And we're still friends till this day. And then when it came to me, I moved to Florida. And I ended up working at Disney. And here's how it goes. I met this beautiful lady right here. And we've been dating for 4 years. And then all of a sudden it came to the topic of, wait, now I have to take care of myself because I can't take care of anybody else. And come to find out that there was a huge support group of transgenders in the state of Florida. And they all reached out to me and said, hey, just look at this video. Hey, look at that video. And I'm just looking, trying to find an answer. And then I found the answer in front of me. And I said, wow, I'm this thing, label called the transgender. And then I went to my mom. She, therapist, sent me over to therapy in order for me to talk about my feelings. And I said, why not? I'll do it. And come to find out, my therapist actually shortened the amount of time because she said, you're a guy. I'm going to get you through this. So instead of 6 months, I had 4 months of therapy. And from then on, they prescribed testosterone, and I started my transition. And let me tell you, injecting a needle in your leg every 10 days, it's not the most beautiful thing. But if you're a trans guy or you're a trans woman and you're doing this for the rest of your life, oh, it's a blessing. And then last year, we got married with the support of her family and the support of her friends. And we couldn't have been happier. And to be honest with you, half of the friends who knew me as a girl are calling me by nicknames. They're calling me by the names that I should be recognized. It's he, him, his, all male pronouns. And for anybody who's in the transgender community, pronouns are important. If you say, oh, she did this to a trans guy who's just starting transitioning, they're gonna literally just look at you like, who are you talking about? But yeah, I mean, I've been so happy lately. It's not even funny. I'm on the next step to get my hysterectomy, and I'm proud of that. I'm shooting for it. But yeah, I couldn't have been happier.
Hello, everybody. Can y'all hear me? Cool. Hey, you can call me Liz, honestly. I am his wife. From my perspective, growing up, I was never around the transgender community, but I was always surrounded by the LGBTQ community. Growing up as a dancer, my mom was my ballet teacher, and my jazz teacher was a lesbian, and her partner was always around. So being around the LGBTQ community has never bothered me. Growing up, I always knew something was up because I've always loved all people. It didn't matter if you were male, female, intersex, it did not matter. Because I've always just been attracted to who you are. And I finally came out as bisexual at a very young age. But when I moved to Orlando, because I was working for Disney as well, as Julian stated, I was part of the internship for the Walt Disney Company. And honestly, he brought me out of the closet because I had always dated exclusively cisgender males. And even though I've always loved both genders, or all genders actually, because I identify myself as a pansexual, which means I love without gender. So, and honestly, being on this journey with him has opened my eyes. I have become a strong advocate for being who you are. We're all a happy family of all snowflakes, because we're all individuals. Thank you.
Thank you so much for enriching so much this entire day by sharing your experience so wholeheartedly. We really, it's just very delightful to have you all here, your family. And like I said, I think, sometimes the experiences, they say a lot more than any lecture, right? And so thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here and sharing this beautiful experience with all of us. But last but not least, me. Everybody knows it. That's my 4th round. What else you want to know about me that you don't know at this time? No, I'm gonna pass it on to you, so you can speak a little bit about your journey.
Okay. Well, I'm so humbled, first of all, and grateful to be in this event, partaking all the experiences and the wisdom that everybody shared here today. I think it's so gratifying to see us moving in the direction of inclusion and tolerance and acceptance by offering the stage for people that are extremely courageous to share the stage publicly in this context and offer their deepest and most intimate experiences, because the trans community, I think today, is at the forefront. They are the pioneers that are exemplifying tolerance and universal brotherhood by their example. I even feel like in that context, I feel my experience is so like 10 years ago that it's like kind of pointless to talk about. But from the context of growing up...
You had a good share of struggles back then.
I did, yes. Yeah. I compared growing up in Brazil in a culture that the dictatorship of sexism is so strong in the male domination and in making sure that the man is extremely masculine and assertive and aggressive and everything. I always knew deep inside that I didn't fully resonate with all of those things, but it's not that I had gender dysphoria, but I started seeing myself having sexual attraction to boys. But the desire to please my parents and seek their approval, especially of my father, was so great that I did everything I could to date girls. And I had 3 girlfriends that each lasted over a year or 2 years. And I was happy, relatively speaking, in those relationships because I could see that in my context, culturally, in the society, I was belonging. But deep inside, the desires and the urges and the psychological nourishment that I felt that I was being deprived of were there. And they kept coming up every time. And I had already become a spiritist when in my late teens, early 20s, I came to the realization that I had something that I thought was a sexual perversion and a sexual addiction. And I saw that my sexual orientation was perverted and addicted. And I needed to get rid of all of that by converting myself to a healthy heterosexual. So I actually did psychotherapy with that premise for a few years. And I only had the courage to start verbalizing my sexual struggle at a spiritist center like 3 or 4 years after I had become a spiritist. And I'll never forget, I was in a passes in a spiritist center that shall remain nameless. And I asked the medium, I said, so-and-so, I'm having these sexual thoughts and these sexual feelings about people, other men, I don't know what to do. I was like on the verge of tears. And the person interrupted and said, you have to go home and fill a bathtub with ice. Get in the bathtub with ice and pray fervently, and it's going to go away. And that was really shocking. Because I looked up to that community for support, and when I got that kind of guidance, I ran inside myself. I ran into the closet and I locked the door for another few years. And it only took a lot of self-love, self-acceptance, and courage, because it takes courage, to say, no, I can't continue to live like this. And I am so grateful for the support of my dear mother, who has been working with high heels, because she does subscribe to the dictatorship of gender, and she loves to wear high heels because she's also not so tall. And she has been working so much all day in the kitchen that she was too exhausted. She apologized for not being here. But I felt so supported by her when I came out, and she had no idea. So much so that she came to Suzana and the Conscious Living for guidance, because her vision of her son was this illusion that suddenly got shattered. And she said, the one thing that I'm afraid of is for you to face discrimination and prejudice, and I am fearful for that. And I remember after I came out to her, my next step was coming out to my best friend, and I was very worried that I wouldn't be accepted. And when my friend heard me come out, and he just looked at me and said, okay, we'll just go to different clubs. You know, that for me, I had drank a bottle of wine before I was able to have the courage to tell him. I was shaking, I was like sweating cold. And when he's just said that, I just cried. And it was felt the most like relaxing and liberating cry. So that's my experience. So I'm very grateful that I'm sharing the stage with such courageous people here and generous souls. Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me? Yeah. I was listening to Fred saying, and I think that's so important. We can't emphasize enough the fear people have to come out to their family members, because that's the place where they need the most to find support, and it's where usually they find none. So we really have to open our hearts to our kids and understand what love is for what we're capable to in this life, and welcome them the way they are, and really embrace that journey and grow with it. So in that token, I want to say how grateful I am for Liz's family, because they had nothing to do with this journey and they're totally on. It's wonderful. So it's great to have support for us.
Let me just comment on what you said about family support, because the American Psychological Association says that when the transgender person or the homosexual person finds love and support at home, the levels of depression that these populations go and experience is no different than any other person in the society. So it makes that much of a difference, the support that they receive at home and how they are embraced by their family members. So, André?
Okay. So I have the group. It's a support group. We have a program. The group runs online through WhatsApp. It's a 12-week program. It's ongoing. Everybody can come in anytime. And people usually don't leave. Usually people don't leave, they stay in the group. And the group, we receive parents, we receive transgender people, homosexual people, a lot of people who has never come out to anyone. And sometimes they just stay there very quiet, sometimes they talk, because we created a safe space where people can be who they are. No judgment there is allowed at all. And so we promote self-knowledge, self-growth, and also that support where we are all helping each other. I have volunteers already, and I'm taking new volunteers too. So the contact for the group is www.fontedeluz.com.br. I have some cards, but I don't have anything up there. And if you need to send an email, you can do to lgbtqfontedeluz@gmail.com. lgbtqfontedeluz@gmail.com. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to end at this time. I want to make one last statement. I want to make it clear that in doing these seminars, these conferences on sexuality, it does not mean that we have it all straightened down and figured out in our lives. We are in the process, just like anyone else. So we have our struggles, we have our challenges, our difficulties. The path of self-love is an ongoing journey, right? Where we continue to learn to love ourselves each day more and more. And in matters of sexuality, we are very far as humanity to really say that we have figured it out. But what we would like to see happening in the spirits movement in general is for you to be a place with a little bit more of transparency, with a little bit more of energy where people are truly, truly, truly encouraged to be themselves. Because I cannot put into words what it means to be able to be yourself freely without any concerns. That's the feeling that every single human being craves for, to be accepted, to be loved. So if someone enters in a spiritual center and feels that he or she is truly, truly embraced by who he or she is, that's priceless. That's absolutely priceless. And that can save a life. Can save a life in many ways. Can make the whole difference on how that person is going to feel about himself and is going to go on in life. It's a differential. We have one of the most powerful sources in our hand, which is the light of spiritism and the beauty of the gospel. We need to use this to save lives. And to save lives is to open our hearts and welcome people without judgment as much as possible, of course. If we cannot do it entirely, then at least we can commit to do the work that it's necessary in order to do that. So that's what I would like to say to you and to invite you to do. For me, my personal experience, as I came to love myself, I cannot tell you how much lightness, how much freedom. I was looking at some comments, on Facebook, and we care about them. And of course, we respect people's points of view. I always say we are not here to force anything on anyone. We're not here to push any agenda into anyone. The same way that I wish to be respected, I try as much as possible to respect people on their thoughts and, their positions. But what's really, really good that I want to share is that I am able to read everything that was written, including some things not so nice necessarily. and just feel like that's okay. That's okay. Not to feel hurt, not to feel personally attacked, because I am in a place where I am so in peace with who I am that all I wish is that that person who wrote that comment is also in peace with herself or himself. So this is what we are trying to convey to people by doing these conferences, is that whoever you are, whatever your struggle it is, make peace with yourself. Because if you make peace with yourself, whatever the world thinks about you won't affect you so deeply. It's not about what people think, it's about how you feel with yourself. Make peace with yourself, you're worth it, and you deserve it. Thank you very much for everything. Thank you very much for all the volunteers, for the wonderful food, for the transmission, everybody who has worked. Thank you for being here and for supporting us in this day.
And we have no better way to end than to listen to love sounds, which is music. No? Yes? Okay. All right.